Alright guys, today's video is called Fractions as a Set. The objective for today is you are going to practice finding fractional parts of a set. So in this lesson, we're mainly going to be focusing on using like pennies, but this can be with any sort of object. And we're going to talk about how to divide them up, how to add the sets together. When you're watching this lesson, kind of think back to when we were working with the Fosno unit and how you were dividing things up that way. And it's very, very similar. When you come to work with me during today's rotation, you're actually going to have some hands-on experience with this. So this is just kind of the visual format, and then you're going to do some hands-on practice when you see me today. So the first problem is if I gave you 24 pennies, how many would 2/3 of those pennies be? Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about what is the whole amount that we are working with. Okay, so the first question I have for you here is what is the whole amount? Well, the whole amount is 24 pennies, okay? And we need to get them into thirds. So what I did for my 24 pennies is I lined them up in 3 equal rows, okay? And each one of my rows has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pennies. So there are 8 pennies in one row. Okay, so the pennies in each row represents what of the fraction? Well, one of my rows represents 1/3 of the fraction. So if I wanted to know how much 1/3 of this group was, I would know that 1/3 of 24 pennies is 8 because there are 8 pennies in my one row. Okay, so if we know that 8 pennies are in 1/3, if we were to add 8 and 8, that would give me 2/3. So 8 plus 8 is 16. So in 2/3 of my pennies, there's going to be 16 pennies. So 2/3 of 24 is 16. Okay, we're going to do another one. So how much would 2/4 of 32 pennies be? Well, I took my 32 pennies and I already divided them up into 4 equal groups. All right, and you're going to practice this with me when you're at the back table because we're going to use manipulatives and you're actually going to physically divide them up. So we had 32 pennies and I divided them into 4 equal groups. In one group, I have 8 pennies. Okay, so I need to add up 2 of those groups. And 2 of those groups, so 8 and 8, is going to be 16 pennies. Okay, so there's 16 pennies in 2/4 of that group. What about if I wanted 3/4 of 32 pennies? Well, we know that if I have 2/4, that was going to give me 16 pennies. So if I'm going to add on another fourth, okay, another fourth, that's going to be 3 times 8. Okay, so 3 times 8 would be 24 pennies. So then I have 24 pennies in, so 3/4 of 32 would be 28. All right, my next one. How about 1/5 of 30 pennies? So I took my 30 pennies, divided them up into 5 groups. Okay, the reason that I know how many groups I need is always by the numerator of our fraction, that 5. Okay, that 5 tells me that I need to divide them up into 5 groups. All right, so I took my pennies, I divided them up into 5 equal groups. Okay, and now I need to know how much is 1/5 of 30 pennies. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 is 1/5 of 30. What about 2/5? Well, I know that 1/5 is 6, so another fifth is going to be 6 more, which is going to get me to 12 pennies. And then 3/5 is going to be adding another 6 on. Okay, so 6 plus 6 is 12, plus 6 more would be 18. So 18 pennies is 3/5 of 30 pennies. After you complete today's lesson, go ahead and complete the Google form. This is this lesson is finished. So go ahead and complete the Google form, and then you may go on to some of the fraction games that are on Google Classroom.